Wow, that song, Thinking Like a Mountain, is so in tune with everything that we have been talking about already this month. This idea of manifesting miracles and the things that we need to do in order to manifest miracles is captured so beautifully in the lyrics of this song. Now, I don't know about you, but I know for me, I tend to think of miracles as something a little bit out of reach or that I don't really influence. And this month, it's been a great reminder to me that no, I do have some influence over the miracles that happen. And in fact, I have a lot of influence. And this Thich Nhat Hanh quote always strikes me. He wrote, people usually consider walking on water or, walking in thin air as a miracle. But I think the real miracle is not to walk either on water or thin air, but to walk on earth. To truly walk through every day of our lives, experiencing the fullness of life. That in itself is a miracle. I know some of you are still doing the week 1 spiritual practice because you loved it so much, of waking up and the very first thing you say is, I am a miracle, right? Just to walk on earth, to breathe, to have the opportunity to experience this humanity journey is a miracle in itself. And if we approach every day like that, then we see all the miracles that are happening and we don't get distracted by our brain telling us that, it's no big deal. You woke up again today, no big deal, until you don't wake up. Or until someone who you love and care about doesn't wake up. And then you remember. Well, you don't have to wait to remember, right? Libby Roderick says, thinking like a mountain and trusting like the dawn, thinking like a mountain. Honey, we'll make it home. So we know that mountains don't think in the way that we think of thinking, our human brain. We know that. So what are some of the words that come to mind for you when you think of the qualities of a mountain? If you're online, just put them in the chat in the room. Talk to me. Height, majestic, solid, strong, unmovable or immovable, stable. Yeah, anything else? Altitude. I'm hearing it starts with an R, but I'm not hearing. Rigid or ridges. Peaceful and beautiful. So some of the words that came to mind for you came to mind for me as well. When I think about, if I'm going to think like a mountain, then, what do I think a mountain represents? And so a mountain represents all of the words that you said and all of the words that you online put in the chat. And some of the ones that came to mind for me match those. Immovable, tall, great, ever-changing, because the mountain is not exactly as it was 20 years ago, even though it's still there. It's affected by the weather. It's affected by how humans interact with it, but it's still there and it changes, and that it is going to be there forever, right? It's permanent, it's strong. If I'm thinking like that about my life and how I want to live my 70 or 90 or 110, oh, I hope not, years on this planet. Or even if I am a child and I think about, 10 years or 15 years, the idea of thinking like a mountain is being strong, being clear that there is no other mountain like me. No other mountain like me. And yes, I may be ever changing, but I am strong. I am permanent in this physical expression for however long I have this physical body. And I can trust that everything that is happening for me, not to me. I can trust that no matter that we may have a very harsh winter, or we may have a winter where there's not a lot of snow that I'm used to as a mountain, that I will still survive it, I will thrive through it, and I will still be here. I want to think like a mountain in terms of how I prioritize my own life and what's important to me. Now, when you are thinking about this in your own life, it requires you to build on what we talked about last week, which was climb every mountain, ford every stream, meaning try some stuff. You can't sit at home and be content with where you are right now and just assume that's what you are supposed to do or be for the next 20 years. No, wherever you are now, then you have to explore, well, what's next? Well, what else am I interested in? Who can I meet now? And know that it is your responsibility to be defining where you go next. And so I've had in this past couple of weeks a combination of a climb every mountain and think like a mountain experience. Week before last, I was in Pacific Grove, California, on the grounds of Asilomar for the CSL meeting gathering that we refer to as SOAR. Every other year, many of us gather and soar into more like a retreat. Some people refer to it as adult summer camp. But it is very much an opportunity to dive into spiritual practice, an opportunity to explore with other people who are familiar with and studying and living science of mind, and get some new ideas and insights. You get to hear a lot of really great and inspirational speakers, and you get to create a broader network beyond your local community. Two others from our community, licensed practitioners and spiritual coaches, Cindy Young and Avis Ives, were also there. And I encourage you to be thinking now about 2 years from now of going. It will be, the location changes and rotates through different retreat locations. So I don't know where it's going to be in 2 years. But in late July or early August, I encourage you to go. It's a climb every mountain experience to meet new people and to hear how they are processing and how they are using science of mind principles in their lives. And one of the things that came forward for me as a result of several of the talks was the idea that even though I have been doing quite a bit related to helping our communities integrate a commitment to inclusion into the way that our spiritual communities and our churches in our movement and in all of New Thought, how to do that and why to do that, that it is time to increase that visibility and to do more. Because let me tell you a little secret. We here at CSLDallas, we've been doing our work. We have a multi-ethnic, multi-generational, multicultural community, and we work at it. What is the first part of our purpose statement? We are radically inclusive. We have been consciously working on that, but not all centers within Centers for Spiritual Living have had the opportunity to do that. That was it doesn't sound like climb every mountain for me personally because I've been doing it, but it is. It's climb every mountain. How do I now spread this and support others? And it just became really clear that for me, I need to explore new ways. Do I create membership groups? Do I do new webinars? Do I have a monthly podcast? I mean, what is it? What is the form of climbing every mountain? And I don't have to know how it's going to work out, right? That's the thinking like a mountain part. I just have to know if I stand firm and tall and I become the immovable force to help people apply spiritual principle to the commitment to being inclusive and learning to love and communicate with people who are different from them in some significant way. If I am immovable and I stand in that, it must happen. So 6 months from now or 2 years from now, you may walk up to me and I may say, it's a miracle, because some new form has shown up to integrate my commitment and my promise to the universe that I, in this moment, don't even know. What is something that is happening and birthing in you that requires you to not only climb a new mountain, but then stand and think like a mountain? I know some of you have ideas and dreams, and you have a heart's desire to impact people or to simply change and reconstruct your own life that feels like that would be impossible. Or you know it's possible, but you are like, I don't know how to do that. I can't do it until I know how. I was working with a coaching client about a month ago, and she said, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I don't know how. And I'm like, okay, great. That's a good place to be. Just stay focused on the what. You don't have to know the how, all the detail of it. Just do the next thing that comes to mind. She said, no. Like, I'm a planner. I need to know, like, what I'm going to do next, but then what comes after that and who I need to meet and then where we go together. And I'm like, no. You're trying to control it. You are not allowing the miracle to unfold, trusting and having faith. Oh, let's go all the way back to 3 weeks ago. Having faith, that's all Spirit is saying is, ain't no mountain high enough to keep me away from you. Ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me away from you. I got you. Whatever it is that you are clear about and that you will stand firm on, I am here, right here, closer than your very breath, coming with you to make it happen. So if you are holding back and you are hiding from something that Spirit is saying, do it, stop. Think like a mountain. 2 weeks ago, I was in California. This past week, I was in Chicago for the Parliament of World Religions. And it's exactly what it says. I was a delegate at the Parliament of World Religions. Religions and people representing those religions from all over the world come together every few years. This year it was in Chicago, and share a joint commitment to interfaith cooperation, to education about all different faiths and spiritual belief systems. And once again, it was a combination of a climb every mountain and thinking like a mountain experience. Interestingly enough, some of you will not be surprised because you know the way it works. Interestingly enough, I attended a panel, and on this panel, there were 5 or 6 leaders from New Thought talking about gender equity, about understanding gender expression, and how that impacts the way we show up in our spiritual communities. Are we welcoming places for people who are non-binary? Are we welcoming places, and do we have a balance in the way that men and women are treated? And are we building on our history of having leadership beyond any gender limitations? And are we extending that into the current opportunity around non-binary, transgender? What does it mean? All of the definitions. And I was shocked at how many people in the room and on the panel were limited in their knowledge around these contemporary categories and contemporary ways of showing up in the world. And that not only was there some lack of knowledge, there was this, we haven't even thought about it in our community. Insight for me, again, this is under the work that I have been doing for a long time related to inclusion. And I'm thinking, oh, we are people in science of mind who know that there is only one creator, and that one creator has created everyone, and we love everyone, and we are committed to creating a world where everyone can have an experience of being accepted, being acknowledged, being respected without judgment. But we can't do that in our local community or in our collective community if we just assume everything we knew 10 years ago is true now. We can't do that if we don't stay up and current, and we can't do it if we don't ask people who come to our communities, what do you need in order to feel seen and accepted? And this is everyone. This is beyond any concern or focus on sexual orientation or gender identity or gender. But especially in those areas where we may have less information, we have to be willing to climb the mountain and explore and learn. And then we get to think like a mountain in this way. We are CSLDallas. We are radically inclusive. And what do I need to know? What is the weather that is hitting the mountain and changing the face of the mountain, or putting new divots in the mountain, or changing the pathway up to the summit of the mountain? By show of hands in the room, and if you're online, if you would just put a number, if you have been a part of CSLDallas for 10 years or more, I would invite you to stand, or online write 10 or 15 or 30. 10 years or more at CSLDallas, let me see who you are. 10 years or more. It's a good representation. You may be seated. I'm not going to call on you. I'm not going to tell you to come up to the front of the room. I just want a visual, because I think many of you would say, I can look at Michael Brundy in the room, 20 years or more, and say, this is not the same CSLDallas from 20 years ago. But at the core, in terms of our values, in terms of our commitment to teach and practice science of mind principles, that is the unchanging truth of our being as a community. But how we do that does shift. It is ever changing. And so I'm really grateful that in the last 2 weeks, I've had the opportunity to kind of integrate last Sunday and this Sunday's message, but to really stand in this place of, it is my conviction to teach and practice these principles. Maybe some of you, maybe one or two of you in the room have that same conviction. Right? To teach and practice love, to teach and practice universal spiritual principles. But the way we do it must adapt. And we can do that and adapt easily when our conviction is clear and we're not caught up in the form that it takes. Ernest Holmes teaches us that it is not the form. The form can change. The form does change. Is there anybody in the room whose body looks and feels the same way it did when you were 15 years old? Okay, you're laughing, but is that a good reminder that you are the same person, always growing, always applying, always expanding, always not just expanding in inches or pounds? If I had thought about that, I probably wouldn't have used that word, but always expanding and always evolving, but grounded in these principles that you are committed to. So a little preview of what the spiritual practice is that will be coming up for you this week. I want you to reflect, what's the mountain deep inside your heart that is really bubbling up, that it's time for you to take this action or to make this change? What is the mountain that is seeking to express in you and through you? And throughout the week, journal. Just write down, and you can do it digitally on your phone. It doesn't matter, but capture in writing some of the things that must happen for you to experience what your heart is calling for. Now, hold on. One of the things, or some of the things that must happen for this to occur, I am not saying outline it and do the plan of action. I'm saying look bigger than that. What are some of the things that you don't know how to make happen that would have to happen for your heart's calling to express? What are some of the things that you think would be a miracle that would make your heart's calling come alive? What are some of the things that sound like a good idea, but yeah, if that happened, my deepest desire would naturally unfold, but I don't know how to make that happen. That's what you want to capture. Things that must happen or seem important for you to experience what your heart is calling for. Just throughout the week, don't make it hard. Just throughout the week, be open to what comes to mind. And every time you think of one of those things and write it down, affirm, I am ready to receive my miracle. Say it with me. I am ready to receive my miracles. Again, I am ready to receive my miracles. One more time. I am ready to receive my miracle. Well, I said one more time, but that was so wimpy. It didn't sound, if you're trying to convince Spirit that you're ready, you didn't convince me. Now, Spirit knows your heart. So maybe Spirit is convinced without some enthusiasm, but it sure didn't sound to me like you really meant it. So we're going to say it just one more time, and we're going to say it like, take a deep breath, and if you really mean it, repeat or say it with me. I am ready to receive my miracles. We can only manifest miracles when we are so clear about what the end result is, that we refuse to be distracted by pain, discouraged by disappointment, or denied by someone else who is making a decision for us. We cannot manifest our miracles if we allow ourselves to get distracted. So we say we want a miracle and we stand and think like a mountain. I am having that. I stand in front of you and I say this publicly. I am upping my game with Stained Glass Spirit and creating new avenues for more communities and more leaders in Science of Mind and Unity and UFBL and Divine Science to live radically inclusive lives. I will not be distracted from that because somebody walks up to me and says something silly or says something offensive. I will not be discouraged because I talked to a minister I talked to a year ago and find out that they haven't made any progress. They haven't introduced any content to their leadership team. I refuse to be denied the opportunity to make a difference, a positive difference, a difference that moves us forward, being inclusive in spiritual community, simply because I don't see the result today. I will stay convicted to expressing that deepest dream or desire that Spirit has given me. Are you willing to be that clear about the deepest desire that Spirit has given to you? Because you're not supposed to do the same thing I am doing. You are supposed to do and show up in the world the way you have been designed and programmed and gifted to show up. Every one of us can't sing like Candy Williams. Every one of us can't be in service the way that Reverend Patty Generous is. Every one of us cannot show up the way any one other person shows up. But there is a way for you to show up, and it is with full conviction. Ernest Holmes reminds us that we can't only have faith in Spirit, i.e., I want something different. I have faith in Spirit. Spirit loves me, and so Spirit's going to make it happen. We can't only have faith. We must have complete faith in Spirit and its ability to know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and why. But the second part of this, we each must have complete confidence in our approach to it. We must not be lukewarm in our conviction. We must know that we know. Is there anybody in the room who needed to hear this today? This is what it means to think like a mountain. And if you need a reminder through the week, don't forget that we have a study guide this month. We have a study guide every month, but we have a study guide. And if you didn't receive it electronically, there are some at the back of the room, and they capture the spiritual practices for each week and also give you the reminder of what we're talking about and what you can do to manifest more miracles in your life. And I encourage you to please pick up the study guide and look at it through the week, because you cannot retain all of what you're thinking and feeling right now, because you're going to go out to lunch, you're going to go be with family, you're going to go to work tomorrow, or you're going to go travel. I need reminders, and so I know you do as well. Our task is to have that conviction, to stand as firm as a mountain stands, and to allow our thoughts to reflect the truth that if we are operating from spiritual principle and integrating that into our lives, we're going to make it home, capital H home, heaven on earth home, spiritual home, perfect expression home. And so I just want to remind you, it is the nature of life. It's the nature of life to grow, to change, to expand, and to evolve. And because you are an expression of life, it means that it's your nature to do the same. It's your nature to live and to grow. It's your nature to change and expand. It is your nature to evolve. You're always evolving toward home. So I'm just going to remind you of some of the lyrics that Libby Roderick is the lyrics that she is giving us that can help us live this life in this way. Thinking like a mountain and trusting like the dawn, raging like a wildfire, or loving like a black-necked swan, moving like the lightning, or dreaming like a stone, thinking like a mountain, honey, we will make it home. Thinking like a mountain, breathing like a whale, bending like the birch trees when the heavens blow, we cannot fail. Roaming like a turtle, growing like a seed that's been sown. Thinking like a mountain, we will make it home. Watch the eagle circle, smell the bear upon the land, feel the ocean, hear the wind. Our bodies understand. With spirits open to the sky and feet on living ground, thinking like a mountain, we can turn this thing around. Thinking like a mountain, we will turn this thing around. Thinking like a mountain and yielding like a stream. Patient as a porcupine, steady as an evergreen. singing like the wild geese as they wend their way along, thinking like a mountain. Honey, we will make it home. Your job this week and going forward is to find the mountain that's deep within your heart. It's calling you back home. Let's go there together.